Hey everybody, Dave Whitmarsh. Got another podcast for you. So today, we're going to speak with Jill Tupper, and I got to tell you, Jill and I connected like the long lost twins 2 months ago, and maybe because we both think the same when it comes to certain things. Out of all the people that I've ever talked to, Jill actually, about my Women in Leadership program that we're working, Jill actually embodies it and, with exception of one word, actually preaches it along with a bunch of other great things. So I am super excited and sorry we didn't do this faster. And we have Jill. Hi, Jill.
Hey, I'm thrilled to be
So,
here.
yeah, well, we'll run a recap at the end to see if you still think the same. But so where do we start, Jill? Let's see. So Jill, why don't you tell us a bit about you and your company, and then let's start. How did you get into the whole leadership development coaching space?
Good question. I was that kiddo that just sort of stood out a bit when I was young because of my passion and my drive and my desire to live life as an adventure. So that in some ways kind of thrusts you out ahead, whether you recognize it or realize it or not. And I would say through the years, I just wanted to continue to be my better. I continued to want to challenge myself in various ways. So that ends up sort of propelling you to the leadership line, if you will. Not even that I was seeking it as much as I was seeking that own shift or that own desire and drive to not miss, all that life had to offer. So that's sort of the real inception of it.
Right. And so for the thing, just to put this in perspective here, right? So when Jill talks about be your better, and remember, I got to quote that off you, right? We're not talking about a person here that just speaks leadership or speaks the stuff. You live it. So what are some of the crazy things that you have done thinking about physical endurance? So you have run marathons?
5 marathons, 7 triathlons, sprint tries. I joined an outrigger racing group when I lived in California, totally out of my norm. I love rock climbing. I have experienced some amazing things. And then once I do, I want to take other people alongside of me. So I've worked alongside of Mother Teresa's Missionaries of Charity in Calcutta. Then I took a group to go with me to Ethiopia. We actually worked with Mother Teresa's Missionaries, and primarily, David, they were people dying of AIDS. So it was a really desperate, difficult situation in Ethiopia. And then I took that same group to climb Kilimanjaro. It had always been something I wanted to accomplish, did it with dysentery. And so every time I would say for me, I believe so much in strengthening our inner core, which is body, mind, and soul, all 3 aspects. And what I recognize is that most of us are strong in one, we're decent in another, and we're typically not so strong or pretty weak or suck in the third one, quite frankly. So how do you bring those into sync and begin to really build that inner core strength that can handle whatever comes at you? And one of the ways that I kept growing, if I want to tackle the next thing, I often found if I could do that marathon, I could get my mind, my breath, my body, my determination all around the same thing and build a level of endurance that then I could take, okay, if I've done this, then that means I can handle this, right? I can take that challenge into other aspects of my life with the tenacity, the persistence, the strength. Because when you've accomplished it in one space, once you begin to put your head space around it, you realize you can do this in other areas. So that's why I've been somewhat propelled in that direction in my own life.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I think that that might qualify you as being a doer versus a talker. Uh, that's safe to say, just a little. Yeah. And and also this has all been done without help of a spouse, right? Like these are these are these are some life altering things that happen, and you manage to do these, while raising children on your own. So like, wow, right? Like who doesn't want to learn from somebody that um or be tutored or coached or share the vision by somebody that's been there and has literally pushed body to the max. So
Well, and
I
I
just
would say, David, I know what it feels like to, I was married 23 years. So I know how to put in the guts to make that happen, to go the distance. But then I've been a single solo mom for 14, where I raised my daughter pretty much on my own. Not that dad doesn't love her, but she lived at
Mhm.
the time. And I have two babes. And then going through the challenges with your business as an entrepreneur and the challenge that you face. I was that home where all the kids congregated because I love to mentor and pour into people. And so you want to be that safe space. So I know what it's like to go it as a team. And then I know how to go it completely alone. And it is tough, both ways and
Oh
different.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Right.
right. And so another really cool thing about Jill is uh, maybe I'll let you describe it. So what do you got going on at the University of Colorado?
Oh, well, what I have had going on, I think this is what you're referring to, is at the Rady Center for Executive Development. I was brought on in that capacity to create multiple courses. And we started out with conquering digital distractions, which has been a great one where we recognize the neural pathways and are getting caught and stuck in that. So I've done that not just for them, but with other companies and other business groups where we've actually gone in trying to break the neural pathways, recognize the addictions, and then shift so that we can move back into more an innovative space. Another course that I've developed, which is a leadership series, is Conquer Crisis, Train Like a Triathlete, body, mind, and business. And that's bringing all those pieces together. And I've done that with Boeing, Edison, American Express, Cox. I've got a few more coming up. And so I've been able to do this with CEOs, YPO executives on a one-on-one level. And then I've done it in keynotes, and then I've done it in leadership training. So the goal is to take a lot of what I've gone through, but also the things I'm big time on tools. So my bachelor's is in occupational therapy. My master's is in leadership. And in between, I studied meditation, yoga, obviously the whole athletics piece, the neuroscience behind it, and understanding how to bring all that together.
Along with the minor in useful sign language. Right?
Yeah.
So
Is that the hand? I'm sorry.
no,
It's just,
yeah,
it is a curse of the trade, but I also came out over expressive.
yeah.
You got
Is
that.
there
It's
any
so true.
Italian in you?
There's gotta be.
There has to be an Italian gene in you somewhere.
Totally. Totally has to be. I know. My hands just say it all.
Yeah. So, but in all seriousness, sorry for the derail there, but you do like your props, right? And you use them in a way, and I'm sure you probably have some, that you can handle. So,
Like right
but
here.
oh, I haven't seen that one.
You haven't seen it. This was a great one. So this is when I talk about our parasympathetic and our sympathetic system. So
Mhm,
those aspects of us are fight, our flight, and our freeze, right? That's the
mhm.
sympathetic side of us. But when we're in the parasympathetic, this is where we breathe. This is where we expand. This is where we're innovative. This is the space where we go into response versus reaction.
Mhm.
This is the space where the body knows how to heal itself. We're calm, we're centered. However, David, when we're stressed, the muscles get tight, the breath shortens, the jaw gets tight, everything starts to clamp down, right? And then
Mhm.
we are often in this state, fight, flight, even flat. I've worked with clients that were so flat because they'd been burned out for so long. So a lot of my work is about untying us from this state that really blocks innovation, creativity, actually even living a grateful, joyful life, right?
Absolutely. If you're, if your head's down, equivalent to in your crumpled ball, you're missing opportunities with family, friends,
Totally.
coworkers. You're just not enjoying life, right? You're not smelling the roses, as my
Yeah.
grandmother used to say, right?
And it goes so much farther than that because literally, when you're in the sympathetic system, your organs aren't working properly. So it,
Yeah.
it goes real, it's very far reaching, and your
Hmm.
posture begins to show it. So you can't separate the mind body connection. It really does. If you are unhappy or stressed or overwhelmed, this is going on inside your body, even if you're
Yeah.
faking it on the outside. This is our natural state, which really also it's very contagious. That's the thing I've
Hmm.
learned is when I'm in a calm state, even as a parent, if I can shift into a calm state, even though as a single parent, there are times you're feeling this way, I can shift myself into the calm state, it actually has a domino effect of everybody around you, including your
Yeah.
children. Mhm. Or
Yeah.
your
It is amazing. My wife manipulates me, right? So she totally does. She does things to take control of the room, um, and then literally on the drive home, she'll say, "Oh my God, I was so frightened. That scared the crap out of me." And it's like, but I looked at her and she is the oldest in her family, and she was calm and she reacted that way. And everybody else did, right? Everybody else was. So it really is amazing how
Mhm.
some of the things like body language and stuff are totally contagious.
Totally.
Uh, and I could definitely see that. So before we jumped on the call, you happen to say that you're keynote speaking to a group of 400 in person, first one, forever. And so what would that topic be on? Like, how does that session go?
Well, that one is going to be on my Conquer Crisis, Train Like a
Mhm.
Triathlete, Body, Mind, and Business. And so it's really helping people get to that mindset, David, that we are all athletes. And I even have a bib number everyone's going to get, right?
Mhm.
So that they even begin to have a mentality. And the way I see it is we're all in an ultra triathlon. And if you made it, past your 20s and 30s, you're in an ultra triathlon, right? And so we must train. And I talk about it all the time with people that you're going to pay now or you're going to pay later. So you might as
Mhm.
well train now while you've got the vitality so that it can carry you across the finish line very vibrant. And that's my goal, is to continue to be giving and hopefully inspiring others as well as myself to reach our better, to
Mhm.
be our better consistently, not
Yeah.
just thinking that you passed it in a decade ago. And so many women start to believe that, and men, that my best is in the past. How is that
Right.
possible? You know, so we're excited about that. They are really wanting us to focus on stress and overwhelm and how to
Yeah.
begin to construct some of that, what the goals are, what the actual tools are that you can use to shift, which I have as a high, type A individual, learned how to calm and center in the midst of chaos. So I'm
Yeah.
super excited. It'll be
Yeah.
very
So
experiential.
yeah, absolutely. But just to bring this back just a bit, we're not talking just about when you talk about the triathlon. Like don't make no never mind, right? Like you have to put the same amount of effort into your relationships, into your children, into your work, right? without overdoing it or taxing anything, just as you would, running a race, right? If you're not in shape, um, you will burn out, right? If you decide you're gonna, knock off 5 miles and you haven't prepped or warmed up or got there, and run it, you're going to be laid up at my age for like 3 weeks, right? But the the same goes, if you think that you can, run your work, 20 hours a day, um, it'll catch up with you. You'll be fatigued. You won't be able to handle it, and eventually you're going to end up in the hospital, and doctor's going to say, what's wrong with you? And eventually he's going to come back and say, you just overworked, right? Which is
Oh,
so strange, but it happens, right? That's what burnout is, right?
right. Well, I have a 30-year-old client and he's super type A. He came in to see me after he had gone to the doctor and was checked in the hospital because his heart rate was going so high.
Yeah.
The doctor said there's no visible signs other than stress. He finds his way to me. And within 20 minutes, he goes, I haven't felt this good in 2.5 years. 2.5 years. He came out of fight, flight, freeze. He expanded, touched base with that sense of his parasympathetic, the rest, digest, refuel. And all of a sudden he was like, oh my gosh, I haven't felt this way. Now I'm training him how to build that core strength to continue with that so that he doesn't go back into, he was actually even into not just fight, flight, freeze, he was into the flat stage.
Wow.
Almost no effect. And he's 30 years old. He's super talented, really successful. And so that's a lot of what we're doing is training people to go the distance. And otherwise you're at mile 20 and you're out of gas. You can't make it
Yeah.
to 6.2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's real. What since the pandemic, I read somewhere that female burnout rates are up 18%. And they were already crazy
Oh,
high, right?
oh,
It's yeah. And so, these are some things that you need to take care of. And it's not that hard. Like truthfully, it's just you need to first you need to understand the problem. Now, why am I talking like I like I actually know what I'm talking about here? Like you're the expert, but correct me if I'm wrong, but you have to be self-aware, right? And practice, right?
but it's, I know it's simple. Let's say it this way. It's very, very simple, but it's not easy. And I always
Right.
talk about in terms of that no one needs more information because we can look all the answers up on the internet. Google's got that market corner. No one needs more information. We need integration, David. And what I find the way I help people integrate is somewhat deconstructing, untying knots that we thought would serve us well, but if they continue to be pulled, will actually be the demise of us. And those are the pieces that I think people want to be self-aware. They don't know how to necessarily get there. And then once you do, Morton Kelsey said that consciousness doesn't have a reverse gear. So once you start waking up, you can't ever really go back. And then beginning to be kind and almost neutral to yourself, recognizing how the neural pathways have created sort of an old habit. And once you begin to recognize that, then you tackle one at a time that you feel propelled towards consistently. And then we recreate new neural pathways to take you on that upward. But it's a rebuilding. It's not for the faint of heart. It
Well,
does
no,
take
sorry, Joe. I was just gonna say, and sometimes in some of these, depending on what you need to work on, you might realize that your actions cause damage to others,
Oh,
right? And so sometimes when you're aware, be prepared because
that's right.
there's a certain, um, a burden that you might not even have known about that you might have inflicted on others, right?
I think that's very, very true. And yet, when you learn to approach yourself from a little bit more of a neutral standpoint, instead of then shaming, blaming, judging, you can release that and then even go asking for the forgiveness. So, what I see most of the time is when we raise our awareness, if we're not doing it in a terms of kind of a neutral perspective, if you knew you would never hurt people, I mean, we're not out there to go, that is not the intention. And so you wouldn't assume a negative intention necessarily of someone else. But if we assume it of ourselves, then it piles more on. So a lot of what I do is I talk about this all the time with clients. I don't ask them to do a lot. I ask them to untie more, to let go of more. And it's a really interesting process, but I feel like the freeing up is really significant. And most of us that are, I think, really high functioners, type A, we really don't need anyone else to shame us. We can do a pretty good job on our own of just beating ourselves of how we failed because we always miss the mark. And it's more about embracing this perfectly imperfect human experience in a way that then we can ask for forgiveness and forgive ourselves and then move on. The world needs us to be in, this is my experience, as the older we get, the world is in desperate need of us to be full so we can pour out to others, help strengthen others from all the things that we've learned and gone through.
Yeah, that's awesome. What do you want to talk about now, Jill? That's a bit of an inside joke because Jill said, do I need to prep? I'm like, no, I'll guide you through it. And so tell us a bit about your company, right? So then how long has it been around, and and what type of what's your ideal project in the dream world, and who do you like to service, that sort of thing?
Well, I started getting propelled into the keynote speaking world over 30 years ago on a national, international level. And I think it probably had more to do with just my passion and my desire to challenge myself as well as others. So again, I don't think I'm going to throw a challenge out to anyone else that I'm not willing to go after myself. It very imperfect. And then about 20 years ago, coaching, I became a coach. So before it was a thing, I started my coaching business and it filled up immediately. And I realized I was really interested in providing, again, back to my occupational therapy days, tools. That was something that I recognized in my own life. Just give me a small tool that I could begin to integrate in my own life to begin to move forward. What I recognized in my business is the need was really great for executive coaching. So I had people have flown in for full days once a month for years to work with me. Others, we've worked virtually together through the years. Others, we just work at a really concentrated length of time and then they come back. I've worked with executives, YPO groups, done that through keynoting, but also just full on taking them through my Conquer Crisis, Train Like a Triathlete. I've just seen that particular aspect about building the core strength being something that just seems to permeate across the globe. I'm seeing it being that important. And then I love working with Boeing, Edison. Boeing, we've been able to do quite a few leadership experiences where it's been 16, 20, 40 hours worth of investment. So we can move them through each piece and really go through that as a group is really ideal and exciting. So I think for us as a company, we love what we're doing through keynoting, through executive coaching, and through leadership development. And I think what we're looking for is just how we can continue to serve the greater good, because the stress isn't going away. In fact, it's only escalating, and the challenges, as you mentioned, before David, already the stats, people brought me in for stress almost beyond anything else. How do you begin to operate in the midst of that? How do you conquer that crisis? And a lot of it is that the neuroscience behind it and understanding it, and then learning even some ways to self-coach. So if I'm doing my job, I put myself out of a job, right? And help someone begin then to know how to coach themselves. But when you get one person who has begun this journey, the unbelievable domino effect for everyone around them is really exciting. So I don't know if that helps. So I love what I do. I'm grateful beyond measure.
Yeah. Okay, so I have to try to figure out a way to trip you up, right? So,
Okay.
So you believe in goal setting, right?
Yes.
Okay. What's on your goal?
That's a good question. What's one of my goals right now?
Yeah. Career-wise or physical-wise, right? What's something you'd like to do?
I would love to do base camp, Mount Everest. I would really like to do that. I have to do a little more research. And my final one, my youngest just went off to college. So I feel like right now, it's a little bit of as things are propelling forward. I also need and want to continue to work on several of my books and get those out. I've got a major project that I believe will make a big difference in the lives of families that I've been working on as well.
Oh, how exciting. Feel free if there's anything in there that you want to share, or we can keep going to the next question. I know that they're half-baked, or they're not completed ideas. I shouldn't say half-baked, because it has a negative connotation to it, but they're projects in the works, so you may not want to share that, but if there is anything, feel free to take over. And so, yeah, so you like, yeah, I don't know, there's just so many things I could talk to you about that it's awesome. And you have, along with some of these programs, I know that you had said to me that you're with the books and that you were planning on putting out, is that going to be based off of your findings of your methodology, mind, body, and business, or are they on other things?
That's one of them for sure. And based on what's really worked for people, because people are really wanting that practical integration. So yes, the other ones, body, mind, soul, fit is another piece that I've worked on for years and have people that I work on individually. It's not dissimilar from the other, but it maybe has a different bent that takes us really to that core strength. And I would say I've got a few others that are exciting. What I long for is intentional, meaningful connection. And that to me is the lasting thread. That's the gold that life is made of, is intentional, meaningful connections. And that's with yourself, that's with nature, that's with others, that's with family. And that's when you're on your deathbed that you lived your life well spent. That's the determining factor. That's what makes somebody rich. And so everything I feel like that I'm probably about when people notice is having those meaningful, I would even say surprise connections. I'm always open. And when we're out of, I know I'm getting off topic a little bit, but when we're out of that sympathetic system, we're in the parasympathetic, we can then notice what's happening around us and have meaningful connections with people that are in need right then and there. And I find this all the time. It happens to me every day. I expect it. I'm excited about it. And it's a gorgeous connection.
Well, truthfully, Jill, there's a part of it that's a little disappointed that you have this kind of connection that we have with others, right? I thought we were special, right? But that's
we are special.
But that's yeah, and I always like to ask, why do you do it? But I don't think there's any even need to ask that question. It's just so obvious, and you know, you basically answered that question. But and it's really been wonderful speaking with you, and I know, like, I there's so much. It's weird because I know so much more about you that I want to sort of interject. But Jill's been really busy over the last you know, since the pandemic started, and like, just talk about how you're mentoring people.
Oh, wow. It's, gosh, it's such a passion for me. I think because through the years, you know, I had a mom that was not very able to be present, and she was really challenged. And actually she died at 56. And I would have told you, to be really honest, that she died of anger, bitterness, and resentment. And I would have also, I mean, she was inactive. She was diabetic from really consuming a lot of sugar, very depressed. So I may be, one of the reasons I do what I do probably has a lot to do with being a part of loving my mom as best I could through those years. So that would be my guess, that's the gift she gave me. So
Mhm.
instead of seeing, oh, my mom couldn't be there for me, I've watched it become this tremendous gift of my mom didn't have the tools. She did not have the ability or didn't know how to integrate, and others people didn't know how to help her integrate. So I really think she's the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing. And as a result, I don't know how many young people through the years I have mentored, from the urban core, starting a work with gang kids in Kansas City, or whether going across the globe with kids in Russia and Nicaragua, Mexico, building homes. I mean, I've just been blessed beyond measure to be able to speak to people, Italy, all around the globe. But young people are, you know, and this is probably teens, 20s, and 30s. Right now, I've got a lot of, well, all three of those categories right now. And, you know, there are people that are needing mentors. There are people who need, how do you get through this? They want to know you can identify with some of the challenges that they're going through. So you're not just looking like you've got it together, but you literally went through something that was very similar. So I'm loving the opportunity to be transparent, but to be real, and then tell them this is what you got to do. And I wish somebody had told me at your age. You know, I had to learn this the hard way, somewhat on my own, is what I feel like. Lots of good thoughts out there and people who want to encourage you, but I want tools. I want to know how to train myself in order to live fully who I am. So I have all different cultures represented, which is just a privilege in my life, and to be able to challenge, encourage, but give really practical tools for where they are, so that they can take on that incremental challenge and move forward. So it is a joy of my life. It is just, there isn't enough of me to keep doing. I could do it full time all day, every day, because there's that many that I think are in need.
And I think you do, based on how hard it can be to, you know, to get on a calendar, right? Um, you're definitely, your focus is people first, right?
It has always been
And
people first. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't fall into that category. You know, for podcast time, so you know, it's like I can help this person, you know, or I'm doing this, right? It's wonderful. And how can people get a hold of you, Jill?
Oh, well, people can go to my website, jilltupper.com, which is excellent. Come see us there. Email me, jill@jilltupper.com. And then you can call us at 949-303-1442. Just reach out, let us know what you need. We are really wanting to help make a difference in your life, but real practical ways. We want to help you integrate.
Awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to add as your parting shot?
Yeah, I do. I would say that if you are doubting, and this is what I think is true for a lot of people that come to me, often we doubt that we have a purpose. And then, so because of that, we tend to not value ourselves enough and not value what we have to give. So I guess I'm really here to tell you that everyone has a purpose. There is no question in my mind that every human being is of great value, that whatever you've gone through is not too much to get through. And I know some horrific stories. I've been through some tough ones, but I know other people who've been through horrific who have made it through. Your life is worth it, and you are worth training to go the distance because the world needs you now. The world needs all of us, in not to be like David, not to be like Jill, not to be like anyone else, but you. You know, you are the one that is on this planet for this point in time, and you matter. So invest in yourself so that you can then invest in others, and everything in this world will begin to change.
Awesome. Incredible. Incredible. I can't recommend enough to reach out to Jill and have a conversation. You will find somebody that you can trust. You will find somebody that that you die to work with, and she's just absolutely a keeper in this world. So thank you, Jill, and we will speak soon.
That sounds awesome. Thank
All right,
you.
take care.